All right, so welcome back to the Out of Chaos podcast, a discussion-based podcast where we try to make some sense of the world that we live in, the chaotic world that we live in. I have a special guest today. Christina, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys. My name is Christina. I am 21 years old. I promote health, fitness, and personal well-being. I'm also really into business. Recently just started getting into stocks and crypto and all that. Really love the market. I also do email marketing for a company that I work for, so really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I want to bring that up first. I see in your social media, you're very active, right? Like you do a little bit of everything. And it's really interesting to me because we spoke a little bit about your life and you've been telling me about it. And I know it's something that you want to share with the audience, right? So as you know, she mentioned that she promoted health and fitness. And that's something that's really interesting, especially now when people need it the most, right? To be healthy and fit.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
what's your main message to your audience? What do you try to
For
convey?
today, I kind of want to get the message out there that your past that doesn't define who you are, and you are capable to accomplish anything if you just put your mind to it, regardless of the negativity that people of the people around you.
Yeah.
My
So
message.
how do you go about promoting that, right? Because I know I imagine a lot of people are at that stage, especially in this quarantine and whatever, in the pandemic where they are getting tired of staying home or they may not be as motivated as before. So what would you tell them? What have you done yourself actually?
I started getting into a lot of personal development, so I've been reading a lot of books just about happiness and how to improve yourself.
Yeah.
In general, I also watch a lot of YouTube videos on personal development. I I try my best to spread the word, I guess, of whatever I learn.
Yeah. When it comes to fitness, what have you been focusing on the most right now?
Honestly, I think that I've struggled with body image in general. I used to be really, I wouldn't say fat, but I used to be overweight a lot
Okay.
just because of my environment that I was in. I never really took care of myself, but there was this one thing that just kind of changed me. I just didn't like the way how I was looking at my clothes. I didn't feel confident. So I took it upon myself to actually go to the gym, and I was really strict with my diet. I actually lost about 30 pounds, and people around me were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you lost all this weight. How did you do it? And I'm like, oh, people are actually interested in me. So now
Yeah.
I kind of post things about fitness.
So how did you lose that weight?
I watched again. I just educated myself on the topic.
Yeah.
And I kind of figured out what worked for me. I did intermittent fasting as well, so that kind of helped me shed the weight. But I also counted my calories, and I just stayed on track. And then for me, it wasn't more of it wasn't a diet. It became a lifestyle for me.
Yeah, 100%.
So now I feel when I don't work out, it just doesn't. I just don't feel good about myself, you know?
I think that's the difference between actually losing weight and just trying to diet, right? It's what you said. Once you make it a lifestyle, it's so much easier. You don't see it like a chore. Right?
You have to make it a lifestyle. Otherwise, you're just gonna go back
Yeah.
to the way how you were from before.
Did you just count your calories or did you weigh your food? Did you do
No, I never weighed my food. I was never that serious about it. I kind of I used an app, but it wasn't consistent. I just kind of I kept track, or I used to do meal prep. So all my meals were already ready. I didn't have to think about what am I eating today. I already knew what was going to be there.
Yeah.
So that also takes a lot of time, and it kind of restricted me in a way. I wasn't looking to maybe open up the cupboards and get something else to eat that I wasn't supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's so inspirational, right? The fact that you're so motivated at a time where many people are unmotivated. That's where it gets so interesting, because I think half the people are very unmotivated and the other half are trying to stay motivated.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend them? What would you to do? Right? What would you tell them to do? What would you advise them?
I mean,
to do?
I can only say so much, but ultimately it all depends on your mindset and how you perceive things. Like if you can watch all the videos you want, let's say on eating healthy and changing the way you think and like maybe becoming a more positive person. But if you're not implementing those into your daily life, nothing's gonna change. I'd say to start off slow though. Like don't go straight into anything. Obviously, you have to take baby steps. Like let's say for eating healthy, don't go on a full strict diet like consuming 1,500 calories a
Yeah.
day. You're gonna end up binge eating, and then it's not gonna work out for you. So
That's how I started. I think I mentioned to you I lost 40 pounds since September.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah. So I started off by that baby step, which is what you're saying. And that's like I cut out Pepsi. Like I'm a
Oh, I
big
know.
Pepsi guy.
Yeah, I
It's so
love
weird because
juice.
it's almost like everybody I speak to, like nobody drinks soda, but like I'm a big soda. Oh, I was a big soda guy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like the difference was when I traded Pepsi for Coke Zero, and it's
That
not the
works.
same thing because Coke Zero it's like no sugar, right?
Mhm.
And it worked. That was the beginning of it because I would have like 2 or 3 cans a day. I think 1 can is like what the equivalent to what I should have a day, right? And I
Yeah,
was having 3.
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so
Sugar
like
is so bad for your diets. I'm telling you, it needs to be cut out.
yeah.
Or at least like you need to eat it in moderation.
And that's how I started, right? By cutting out. Like I didn't go into like an intense diet
Mm-hmm.
right away. I started off by just replacing like Pepsi with Coke Zero.
Yeah,
Right. So it's what you're saying, right? Like that,
Yeah.
like little by little, trying to build that habit, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get to like where you are? Like you mentioned to me that you do marketing, right? At a business.
Mm-hmm.
And like you kind of told me about your story a little bit and something like I know that you want to share, right?
So, okay, so I guess like we'll get started on where I am today. Honestly, guys, I was never this mature, let me tell you that. I was like if anyone that knows me, I used to be, oh, like guys, like when are we going to like the next club? When are we partying? This and that. I probably balled up every single day. But it came to a point in my life where I was just like, yo, I just can't do this, and I needed to mature for myself.
Yeah.
So, like I kind of grew up in a very negative environment,
Yeah.
I guess. Like my mom was very toxic. My dad was basically never there. Like he was just never saw him, never heard from him. My mom never really supported me through anything. So, at a very young age, I took it upon myself to kind of like get my own money, right? I had to support myself. So at 16, I got a job. My first job was at Burger King. Hated it. hated the workplace. But I was going to school full time, and at times I was actually working full time. Like at 16, I was working at Burger King,
Really?
yeah, just to get my money up. I was really focused on saving because my family wasn't really financially stable through
Yeah.
at the time, so money was always an issue for us. And I knew that, like for me, money was something it's a tool that you need in order to get by in life. So I just been working ever since. I've saved up a lot of money. Like I had like some friends that would be out here spending money on every little thing. And it was like I just can't, like I need to save it. It was very difficult at times. I feel like at one point I was presented with an opportunity to move out,
Yeah.
right? So like literally in 2 days it's gonna be almost a year that I've moved out on my own. I moved out at 20. My cousin presented me the opportunity to move out with him. I was like, okay, great. Let me move out with you and see how it goes. I mean, people like told me some red flags about him. He was also a very toxic person himself,
Yeah.
but I didn't know anything of it. I was like so blind. I was like, oh, I want to get out of my mom's house. I don't want to deal with her. And I was very lucky enough to do so. A lot of people were like, yo, I don't think you're going to be able to do it. So I had a lot of negativity brought on me. They're like, you're so young. You don't know what it's like to be out here in the real world. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And I'm like, okay, like I feel like I'm financially stable. I've never had a problem with money. I feel like I'm very smart in that way. But a lot of people, when they present you that problems, it's usually like a replication of themselves. Maybe
Yeah.
they're scared to take that risk. I mean, I wasn't. So, anyways, moved in with my cousin, and he was just a very terrible person as well. He was very negative. He always talked about, my cousin is gay, so he always talked about boys. And that kind of influenced me in a way. So at one point I was like so focused on these men, which took me away from like other things that I should be focusing about. And then it goes, into the topic of relationships. Like, I know that I've been involved in some really toxic relationships that at the time I didn't realize, but now
Yeah.
looking back at it, I'm like, yo, I'm stupid. Like, how did I even let myself get into these situations?
But where did this? Okay, so going back to the beginning, right? Like you were talking about your mom. So we had an episode on Storge love, which is Storge love is like the
Yeah,
familial love,
yeah.
and it resonated with so many people in the audience because I think that obviously no parent is perfect, but I'm starting to sense that a lot of us haven't had like an amazing relationship with our parents, right? So like, kind of talk to me about that a little bit. Like what exactly didn't work?
My mom, I just feel like because she hasn't really accomplished anything in her life, that I don't really want to talk bad about her. I
Yeah.
do genuinely feel bad because she does have some problems on her, like, some mental problems that she needs to deal with. But with her, she just kind of didn't like. She didn't accept anything that I was doing. Like, maybe if I started, get like going out more and I wasn't really being connected with her, she didn't like that. She kind of talked down on everything that I did, even if I was going to work and making money. And my mom, she loved to call me money hungry, in a sense that, like, you shouldn't be out here, getting money and this and that. But I'm like, how are you going to support yourself if you're not making that money?
Yeah.
My mom, I just feel like at some point she's just jealous because I was able to take those steps that maybe she was too afraid to take.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem that me and her have. Although I have moved out, our relationship, it has become a little bit better. Like, we're definitely not fighting 24/7 like how we used to.
Yeah.
But I don't talk to her like as often. I feel like I don't need the negativity in my life. Every time I talk to her, it just does, like, nothing good comes out of it. So I'd prefer to separate myself when it comes to that.
It's like what you said, right? Like even on that episode, it was hard to talk about these things, but like the one thing I said then, which I'm gonna say now, is that like our parents don't have a manual. Like, they didn't come with a manual. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't come with a manual, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So like, it's 100%. No matter, like, I'm pretty sure there are horrible parents out there like that kill their own kids, but like,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's
apart
very
from
sad.
that, apart from that, like, most of our parents do love us. They just have like a way of loving, right? But like, I think in your situation, you might have needed to leave, right?
Yeah.
In order to advance in your life, right?
I think that, at the beginning I was like, okay, am I making a mistake? Like, but I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to know unless if I try. So I had to take the risk. And a lot of people, they're stuck in certain situations because they're too scared to take that risk.
Yeah.
And I took that risk. And literally a year ago, I would have not imagined to end up where I am today. Like, never. I honestly thought that I was still going to be living with my cousin. But I'm really happy with the way how it turned out, even though, like, I've really gone through it emotionally. I think that at the end of the day, I'm really happy with the way how everything turned out, because now I'm on my own. I don't have to worry about anyone. I don't have to hear anything being negative being said to me or anyone talking down on me. So, yeah.
So do you think that's where like everything changed for you then, right? Like the who you are now and who you're becoming, because I mean you are pretty young still. Like,
Yeah.
like that's basically what allowed you, that freedom is what allowed you to do what you're doing now, right? Or
Yeah,
were you like
exactly.
on that even before?
I think I was starting to change a little bit because, at the time I kind of got into a relationship with someone who was very mature, and like they changed my way of thinking about things. So I think that was kind of the start.
Yeah. Maybe like a lot of times, like, and no fault of our own, we usually fall into like a loop, right?
We do.
It's like, because people go like, oh, why do I keep like doing the same thing? Or like, why do I keep going out with the same type of guy or girl, right? Like, and it comes from like, I'd like to think my theory is that it comes from our parents, right?
It
like,
does.
because we grew up with our parents, we're so used to that, so like we kind of seek it all around us,
Yeah.
right? And obviously, like, those are the kind of friendships you make as well, that they might relate to your parentage. I don't know, it's kind of my theory, but like, at the end of the day, like you do have to break that loop,
A
or else
hundred
you're always
percent.
gonna do it. You can be like
Yeah.
50 years old, and I know like 50-year-old ladies are still in the same loop, or 60-year-old men like doing the same thing.
Yeah,
You know?
you know, and I feel bad for those types of people. Like the relationship that my parents had was they were very toxic emotionally and physically to one another. And growing up, just seeing all the fights and everything that I've witnessed, I do not want that like for my relationship. I've noticed though, I mean, some of my friends have had the same situation with their parents, and the men that they're finding are kind of the same thing. So they're kind of going back into that same relationship that their
Yeah.
parents had. And me, I try to pick the signs out from men if I'm ever gonna get into a relationship. I don't want anyone, who's going to be abusive. But then when someone comes to me, it's so weird. It's like when someone comes to me and they're so nice, like right off the bat, it's
Hmm.
kind of like a turn off because I'm not used to it. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay, okay.
It's like one of those.
Do you like not trust it right away, or is
Yeah,
it?
because I think that they're faking. I think it's
Oh, I get
because
it.
I've never had that type of connection, like growing up with my parents. So when someone's trying to present their love to me and they're trying to be all nice, like, in the beginning, they want to do this, and that for me, I'm like, there has to be something to it. You
Yeah.
can't be this nice.
Wow, that's so interesting. Actually, I never. It kind of like deters you from maybe like
It
believing
does,
someone.
but I'm
Yeah.
working on it. I know that, it's just my brain. Again, it's the way
Yeah,
how I'm
100%.
thinking.
Yeah.
The person might have really good intentions for me, but it's me thinking maybe he's just lying, or maybe he's just being nice because he wants something. That's
Yeah.
just kind of how I think.
Because at the end of the day, like what I believe is that like people can have their intentions. Like let's say you meet someone and they are super nice and they have a bad intention. Like you will you can put the boundaries. Like
Yeah.
anybody can have any kind of intention they want,
Hmm.
but you control your own destiny, your
You
own
do.
life, right? So
Yeah.
like regardless of the person's intentions, you control the tempo,
You
right?
do. Yeah.
So that's like what people should focus on, right?
Yeah.
When they meet someone.
I believe it all has to do with your mindset. Like if you are maybe thinking this person is you know like you always go with your gut feeling when it comes to certain things.
Like what would you recommend, or like being a young girl that moved out early, what were some fears, what fears came true, what did you find hard, obviously I'm not, I don't want to, I've been the kind of person that I don't recommend people to leave their house because
Mm-hmm.
it is hard and stuff, but having you here and kind of being like a success story from that, like tell me about that because that's
Yeah,
interesting.
moving out, I was just scared. I was like, okay, because, I grew up in Malton. A lot of people don't know where Malton is. Every time I'm like, yeah, guys, I live in Malton, they're like, Milton? And I'm like, no, Malton, all right? It's a very ghetto area. I hated it there. And I moved to Woodbridge, like Vaughan. And it was a new area for me, so I had to find a new job. I literally moved out with no job because I just quit my job
Oh no.
from before. So I was like, okay, so now I have to look for jobs. Very unsuccessful when I first started moving here. I was literally working at I was just trying anything and everything. So like doing these factory jobs. I told myself I was never doing a factory job, and then look where I ended up doing a factory job. But I ended up finding something that I really enjoyed. So like to where I'm at now, I work two jobs, which I don't mind because honestly it fits with my schedule.
Yeah.
Like I do a part-time job on the weekend, and then I would work full-time, but that job is like one of my restaurant jobs, and they're closed because of COVID. But I feel like there's always ways to make money regardless. I also did reselling, so that helped me a lot. I just feel like it's the financial parts, and you have to be aware of where your money is going. Otherwise, people are gonna struggle. That's why people are like always maybe, oh, I can't do this because I have no money.
Hmm.
People, if you don't have any money saved up, I would not suggest you moving out. It's a big risk that you're gonna be taking. And you have to be mature. Some people are just not mature enough to move out. They still rely on their mommy and daddy to do stuff for them. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone is different in a way, right? But I know that there are a couple of like my friends that want to move out, and they've told me a couple of things, but some of them I'm just like, guys, I just don't know if you are ready to move out.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends, right? Like if you do have that, like, unfortunately have like a good relationship at home, whatever, like, you
Stay.
should hold out
Yeah.
as long. Like, there's no reason apart from maybe you just want to go party or bring people over. There's no really like that good of a reason to move out. Like, I always recommend that, like, just because I am like family oriented too, and it's always good to like, because you're not always gonna have your family, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it's a decent relationship, so you gotta take advantage of that. But like, what would you say is like the hardest thing that you came across, like when you were living alone after everything that happened with your mom?
The hardest thing, honestly, like I want to say that what like money wise was never a problem for me. I think the hardest thing was just moving in with someone who I didn't really know or understand. I think that really, it always brought my mood down. Like I moved in with my cousin, and living it with him was just so difficult because he had his own problems. Like he suffered from depression, anxiety, and dealing with that, I dealt with that with my mom, and then I had to deal with it from him, but he was like 10 times worse. And it was really hard. Like it drains you emotionally.
Yeah.
And then when he left, my dad moved in with me at one point. I took my dad in because my dad, didn't really have anywhere to go. So I was like, fine, you can come live with me. That was also a big mistake. So that was also another challenge that I had to face and overcome. It's like, people see their parents as like supporters.
Yeah.
For me, I was the supporter for them. So it was so challenging because it's like, I need to take care of myself. How am I supposed to take care of you when you're like the parents, or you're supposed to be taking care of me? So I think that was just like the biggest thing that I had to overcome. But once like he left, I felt like everything was just now falling into place, and I was able to focus on myself more.
You kind of had to like grow up like by your own merits, right? Like your own self in a way.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
But like, how did that affect you now? Like, what do you feel you learned from all that?
I have learned that, I definitely do not want to be like my parents. That's why I say that you are not a product of your environment. People will be like, oh, your dad's like a drug addict, he like drinks, or like your mom is this, you're going to be just like them. I don't think that's true. You determine who you're going to be. I feel like you just got to take matters into your own hands sometimes.
I feel like you are a very like business oriented kind of person, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of helped you with your success and your ability to move on from these things. What do you?
I feel like, because I was just always taking care of myself from a young age, it kind of felt natural to me.
Yeah.
Like when people talk to me, they're like, oh, how old are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm 21. And they're like, no way. Like you sound like someone who's 25 because you just sound so mature. Like, I don't even feel like I'm 21. I feel like I'm like 25, 26. I swear. I feel like I'm running out of time here, but I'm only 21. I know I'm so young still. Yeah.
That's what I always tell like the young people. I'm like, imagine, like, it's never too late, but imagine starting young. Like time, like there's one thing that you can't buy or you can't get back, and that's time, right? So for you, right, this is just like the beginning, right? And so far, like what I'm said, like in your social media and everything you told me, even in your business, right, like your marketing, and like you are like taking those first steps or those steps towards like a successful future, right?
Yeah, that's
so
the goal.
What's going to be the, I guess, like, what's your plan to maintain it? What's your maintenance plan?
I try my best to set a routine for myself, so I can follow it throughout the day. I think that me just continuing to learn about new things, taking more risks, is going to allow me to grow. Like coming on this podcast, has allowed me to express things that I honestly thought that I was never going to do. So it's the little steps that matter. People don't realize that you don't have to go from 0 to 100. Go from 0 to 10 and then work on building that flow, Yeah.
Because that's the main reason why I started this podcast, right? Because there are people, and like someone like you, your story is why I started this, right? Because there's so many people that like have gone through struggles, that have had some success in their life through their hard work, through their determination, and I need them to share that story with everybody, right? Because it's worth telling.
Yeah.
So that's why like it's a very inspirational story. On one of the episodes earlier, the one I mentioned before, Storage Love, I wanted to focus more on like that toxic type of love, right? And the reason why is because so many times, because like let's say they're a family member or they're our best friends or they have some kind of like right in our life, we assume that they're good for our environment, for our life, right? But in reality, they turn out to be pretty toxic.
Yeah.
And that's why it makes us a little bit blind, and it takes some time to see the toxicity.
It
right?
does, yeah.
So like, how would you observe it? Like, what's like a thing that you could do to see it faster?
Honestly, I think it just comes with experience. Like, you just know the red flags. You just have to, like, your gut, you go with your gut feeling. That's what I always say. But there are toxic people who are really good at hiding these signs and are very good manipulators. And those are the ones that you need to really look out for. Because they don't have good intentions for you. They kind of want to see you down. There's a lot of people out there that will watch you, and they're not praising you. They kind of wish that they, in some ways, they get jealous. Maybe you're doing better than someone else who you went to high school with, and they're not very happy about that. So I'd say just to ignore these people the best to your ability.
Yeah.
And always, like, you have to understand, there was this quote that I read. It was like, these people have problems. I forgot who it was by, but the guy said these people have problems, and he's not going to let their problems come on to him. And I think that's very important, because people will do anything to put their problems onto other people because it makes them feel better. Also, if you're around any toxic people, I would not suggest to talk about anything maybe bad that's going on in your life, because a lot of them don't care. A lot of them are actually happy that you are having these problems. So just be very careful about who you're telling these things to, because a lot of them don't have good intentions for you.
Yeah, no, and in that episode we actually talked about, like, we said that usually you can tell them like who the toxic people are
Yeah.
by like when you say something, like when you kind of reverse the question onto them, right? So let's say they go like, yeah, you should do that, right? Let's say you should go for that job, or you should like something like adventurous, right? And if you flip the question back to them, you'll know if they're real friends or they love you when they answer you truthfully, right? Because most of the time, a lot of people just speak just to speak, like they wouldn't do what you're doing, but they judge you for that. So when you flip the question back to them, you'll see their true intention.
Exactly. I also want to point out, like, let's say you have a group of friends, right? And you're maybe doing something, you're accomplishing things, and you let them know of, like, hey, maybe I got a promotion at work today. You can tell just by their reaction to see if they're really happy for you or not. If they're like, oh, like, good for you, and then, like, kind of change the subject and put it on them, they do not care. They're very envious of that situation. Just watch out for those people. Those people just don't have those good intentions, and it's very sad because it's very common in today's society.
It's just because of like social media and like human beings in general, we are a little like jealous, right? And that's okay. But if you can recognize that, and like if you truly love someone, whether it's a friend or a family member, like by law, like you're always gonna want what's best for them.
Yeah.
Always, right? So because that's been in my situation with, like, let's say with my cousins or with people, like when they're doing good, I genuinely try to like wish them the best, right?
Yeah.
'Cause, like if they're doing, let's say they're doing better than me, like, well, how does that affect me? Like whether they're doing better or worse, it doesn't directly affect me,
Yeah.
So all I gotta do is genuinely wish them the best, right?
Yeah. A point that I kind of want to bring up is, like, let's say you're doing better than someone else. Let's say, I always say you cannot be comparing yourselves to other people, because you're basically offending yourself at that point. But let's say if one of my friends, they're accomplishing something that maybe they're getting a little bit further than me. I am not the type of person to become jealous of you. I am happy for your success, regardless of it. Like, if you got a new car, good for you. Like, I'm happy. I don't want to see none of the people who I genuinely care about fail in life, because that's not what I want for myself. So that's another thing. I don't think you should be envious of your friends or family. I think that we should all be supportive of
Yeah.
one another, you know? I mean, it's okay to be envious of certain things, but don't let it get to you and don't let it make you become a nasty person. And if, let's say, your friend's doing better than you, that should motivate you to become a better
Exactly.
person. You know,
Yeah.
you have to move up to their level. You don't want to just be stuck.
And sometimes it's just timing, right? People
Yeah.
do better than other people for a while until like, everybody has their time, right?
Exactly. Everyone's situations are different, so you can't make comparisons.
Yeah, 100%. So, like to kind of end it off, like what, I've been mentioning from the beginning, like you're very active on social media, like you're very vocal about like your exercises, you're investing like in your
Mhm.
business, and that's brought you, I guess, a lot of success, right? Recently.
Yeah.
So, tell me just
So,
plug your stuff, I guess.
yeah, I just want to say that like you have to take risk. Like at one point I was so scared to even start investing. You know, no one in my family has ever talked about investing money, and I've watched a lot of videos, and I believe that investing your way is a way to build long-term wealth. Saving too, but over time with inflation, your dollar of what it is now is not going to be the same amount, like we say, within 50 years. So investing is definitely very important, especially if you want to start at a young age. Do not like how do I say it? I don't know. Just invest, save your money, guys, and just take risk. I think that's the most important thing.
How much, like, for our younger listeners or people who want to start off, like, how much would you recommend? Like, is there like a certain amount that they should start investing, or
You know what? I'm actually watching one thing that I really like. It's called the Minority Mindset. I don't know if you've heard of it.
no?
Basically, he talks about this 75-15-10 rule. All right, so let's say 10%, let's say you have your net income. Okay, let's say your net income, an example is $100. 75% you're going to be putting away towards spending, so that's going to like cover expenses
Yeah.
and whatever you have left you can spend. 15% of that is going to go towards investing, and then 10% is going to go towards your saving. So if you're following that rule, you will become successful, and it's a good way to start money management now, because a lot of people get a paycheck and they don't know where their money's going. At the end of the week, they're like, where did all my money go? It's because you are not managing your money. So I think being financially educated is very important, and a lot of people are not taught because they don't teach us in school. You need to teach it to yourself. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
what I think.
that's how I've been learning a lot of, like, it's funny that you mentioned like just the internet a lot, because
Yeah,
a lot of this information is out there for free.
it is.
You just have to like invest some time, not even that much money, if at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just invest some time into like looking at YouTube videos and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Even
Yeah.
like following people like you, right? Like I've been getting into investing, and like I see your content and stuff, and
Oh,
you like
great.
you inform your like audience, right, of like
Yeah.
what's going on, and I think that's very important, especially for younger people as well. I wish I would have started a lot younger,
Yeah, you
but
see, like, there's regret. Like, if you're thinking about doing something now, do it. Because
yeah,
when you're older, the regret is literally gonna kill you inside, and that's something that you don't want to feel. You take the risk, and if you fail, you fail. At least you know that you tried it, so that you don't live with the regrets.
yeah.
But I think it's great. I'm gonna be posting more anyway, so stay tuned to it.
Yeah. So like, I guess share your socials. Like, where
Yeah,
can we
guys.
find you?
If you want to follow me, my Instagram is Christina with a K. So it's Christina Borgina. I'm really active on Instagram. I feel like that's probably the best platform to reach me at or to follow me. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Oh, that's awesome. So thank you for coming on. I'm very happy. Like I said, like to me, like when we spoke about this, it was very inspirational because it is brave. It's something that like I know a lot of, especially personally, like I know a lot of people that did want to move out when they were younger. They struggled. They didn't have
Mhm.
like the same drive that you have, right? So it's good to have people like you come on and motivate not only the younger people but even older people as well, right?
Yeah. One more point, and like if anyone has any more questions about like me, maybe if I didn't cover it, they can always contact me if they want, or if they want to see us do another episode, that'd be great. Like if anyone has any feedback, why
Yeah,
not?
feedback is always welcome. No, thank you. I mean it. I appreciate it. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you guys for joining us, and catch you guys on the next one.